So now we are going to talk about the Oracle database architecture. So when we talk about the architecture, we are going to discuss about the internal part in the Oracle, how the things can work in the Oracle. So that's the main agenda we have. So here in the architecture part, we will understand about all the architecture component of Oracle database. We will explain you the memory structure, how the memory structure will work in the Oracle. Then we will talk about all the background process in the Oracle. After that, we will talk about the logical and physical storage structure of the database as well as the Oracle server. And then we will talk about the multi-tenant architecture. So this is the agenda we have for the today, which we are going to discuss in this module in the architecture part. So if you can see on the screen, we have Oracle architecture. As we discussed yesterday, instance. So what is the instance and why we need instance? Instance is the basically the memory structure plus the background process. Here you can see the background process and then memory structure. If you remember, as I told you, within architecture, we have a very small part like database dictionary cache, library cache, share pool, Java pool. Got it? So different pool we will talk internally. Treasure pool, key pool, so many things are there inside this memory structure that we are going to discuss. Apart from that, this is the physical file, like you have a data file, control file, log file, parameter file, password file. So those physical file also we will talk. And then as a user, when we are going to connect to the database, how we will connect? So suppose you have called the SQL Plus, or maybe the SQL developer, or maybe any application, or maybe any of the your third-party tools like the OEM, or maybe the Toad, or some different tool. Through that, you are going to access the database. So when you are going to connect to the database, your user process started. You are connected or not, doesn't make any difference. Your user process will start at the time when you are trying to connect to the server. At that time, user process will start. So in simple term, user process is the thing which will be started the first. Either you are connected or not, doesn't make any difference. The user process will be started and you can able to get it. So that's the main term about the. So there are three major structure in the Oracle database server. You can see here, one is called memory structure, another is called process structure, and third one is called storage structure. So memory structure, process structure, and storage structure. These three component is the main component in my database. So here we are just going to talk about the basic Oracle database system, not about the rack, not we are going to discuss about the data guard. Okay, so just we are discussing here the basic Oracle architecture, how it works, what are the things you are going to do, how we are going to use it. So that we are discussing into this module. So in simple term, when we talk database, so database, if people are saying it has the combination of your physical structure and logical structure. So like these are the physical file and these are all the instance level what you have seen. This is the logical file. So if you will combine this and this, then it will become the your database. So database consists both physical structure as well as logical structure. Because physical and logical structure both are separate, and the physical, the name as I said, the control file, data file, log file, parameter file, these all are physically. How we can know the physical? Physical means if my database is not running, still I can able to see it on my directory location, be it mount point U01, be it somewhere different, and that's way. So that way we can able to use and we can able to.
सर एक हो रहा है वॉइस थोड़ा बीच का.
Yeah. So that way we can able to use and we can able to get the thing. Is it better now? because that's the physical and logical structure. Both are separated. The physical storage of the data can be managed without affect the access of the logical storage structure. So what is kept into the this logically, that and this both are the separate. So within your RAM in your server, what you are keeping, those are called logical. And within your hard disk, which you are keeping, those are called physical. Got it? So like your software when you install, that is the logical, but software is running over the just your hard disk. So in short, if you will shut down your machine, that means the Oracle database. I'm not talking about a server. Will you able to see the your instance? No. Will you be able to see the your background process? No. But will you able to see the your physical file? Yes. So memory structures have the background process, and that background process are associated with your instance. So whenever you start the instance, by default, there is a one thing will come, which is called here in the memory structure, you have a SGA, the system global area. So SGA is allocated in the background process whenever my instance will start. Now, as I said, the background process, there is a various type of background process you will find, like SMON, PMON, LGWR. LGWR means log writer, system monitoring, or process monitoring, like the PMON. Similar way, DBWR, database writer, LGWR for log writer, CKPTV, so checkpoint, basically on the control file they are writing. So those different background process, archive process, M1 process, there is n number of the process will come. Oracle have 50 plus background process, and those all process will work according to the their need. So if you can see on my blog, I have written very well in the I think 6 or 7, oh I think 12 year back. Let me show you that, so you can get the idea. So whenever you have a time, guys, why I am studying all the things, so at least you can able to get the more and more which is possible. Okay. So in my blog, if you can go to the rajivjha.oraclewordpress.com, here, if anything you want to know in the Oracle, so you can able to search like background, and then you can click onto that. You can see the background process in Oracle. So that I have written in the 2014, almost 10 year back. Got it? February 24, 2014. So that, and you can able to read it. Of course, after that, there's a lots of new thing has added, new processors came that I have not uploaded here, not updated, because I am not getting the time nowadays due to my training, due to my office job. I can't able to write much nowadays. So, and then most of the thing now I put onto the in my training with the participant, so they will get the idea into that. So what I was trying to say here, whenever you have a time, go through this to understand the what process will work for purpose. So why it is there in Oracle? What is the use of that background process? That process will give you the idea about the internal component of your database. Got it? So in short, now you may be aware the Oracle when we talk, so we have a memory area, we have a background process. If we will combine both them, it will become the instance. Got it? The process or job which will work in the memory of your computer. Process can define the trade of control mechanism, the operating system, which can run on the series of these. So that way it will work. Now, when we talk about a database, that means this instance plus the physical file, like I talk, the data file, control file, log file, parameter file, those all you will combine, that will be called as a Oracle server or Oracle database. Okay. So this is the my database server. Now database is the ready when your background process will start. Once your instance, when you are starting the instance, then your database will be ready. Now, instance also have the various phase to start, like no mount, open, got it? But fully you are starting, or similar way the shutdown also have shutdown transactional, shutdown immediate, shutdown normal, shutdown abort. So different things are there. Why these are? we will talk it later. But as of now, just understood this way we can able to do. Similar way,
Sir,
if
this storage structure, does it mean that you're talking about the physical hard disk or some files?
yeah, some files I'm talking like in the hard disk, like you have a mount point U01 or U02, top onto that you are creating your files like data directory. Got it? Where you have a system file, where we have a sysox file, where we have a user file, temp file, undo file. So those like a data file we call.
Okay,
Then
like
we have a
we
control
can
file.
compare it with the like configuration files of Linux OS.
Yes,
Like, okay,
yes, similar
okay,
like
got
that.
it,
Similar
got it.
like that. So basically, your table, just you example, you are creating a table. Table is what? It's a logical part. Table will be stored somewhere onto the disk. How on the disk? So within a file. Like you have a Word document, just example. Now Word document you are storing somewhere into hard disk, correct? Now within a Word document, what you have written, those are your tables. So similar like that, in the table is a logically which is written onto data file. Got it? Where data file belong? Onto the disk level. So that way this structure will work.
Got it, got it.
Thank you for asking the question. And similar like this storage, Oracle have the another storage which is called ASM. Got it? Which is called automatic storage management. So Oracle automatic storage management use the concept on the instance and memory and the process component, but not accessible with the specific database. So basically, when we talk, so Oracle is doing the stamping on the instance. Got it? And the beauty of that, it is a Oracle proprietary. So that means OS admin cannot able to access directly onto that disk, or the storage admin cannot able to access directly on the disk. Of course, they can access the disk, but inside the disk, what is there, like a table, view, sequence, or maybe your data file that they can't see. Okay, so that way the Oracle database architecture will be working. Now, as we are going to talk about this architecture, so let me go details into the each, and then we can get a clear picture onto that. Got it? So we are going to insight into these instances. What are the component? What is the use of those component? Why we have to use those component? So we are getting insight into that. So the first thing you can see the database server. As I said, the memory plus your data files, got it, plus your process, then you have a listener and those all. So any database server when we talk, so it's a combination of these all the things. It's not like that only these things. There is a couple of things which we are going to talk into that. So as a DBA, when we are going to talk about the instance. So instance means the Oracle database, or here we are going to talk about database server. That means Oracle database consists of at least one database instance and one database. If you remember, in the last lecture we talked, there is a various type of the Oracle database, like the rack we talked, like the standalone we talked, like we talked about the data guard, got it? Like we talked about the multi-tenant architecture. So here, what we told you, the Oracle database consists of at least one instance, one database. But before 12c, that was the picture. Every instance associated with the one database. From 12c onwards, what they have done, the one instance with the multiple databases, similar like a SQL Server or MySQL or Postgres, you can think. So over there, if you have seen, the one instance have the multiple database. So that is the concept started with Oracle 12c, which is called multi-tenant architecture. So in
सर
short,
आई हैव
yeah, please.
सर मतलब आप बोल रहे हो कि एक डेटाबेस जैसे आपने हमें कल बताया था अलग अलग टाइप के डेटाबेसेस है आर्किटेक्चर में वन इंस्टेंस वन डेटाबेस फिर वन इंस्टेंस मल्टीपल फिर मल्टीपल आर्किटेक्चर है फिर मतलब एक ही डेटाबेस में दो दो तीन तीन यूजर्स हो गए या फिर अलग अलग
नहीं नहीं
मतलब
नहीं
ओरेकल
just
सॉफ्टवेयर है और उसके अलग अलग डेटाबेसेस हो गए ऐसा कुछ
yeah. There will be a little bit. These all are the car. Maybe the Honda car, BMW, or you can talk about the Maruti, or you can talk about the Mahindra, whichever. These all are the car manufacturer. Am I correct? So they are car. But if you can go into Honda, there's a multiple things is that Honda City maybe, Honda Jazz maybe, Honda Amaze maybe. So there's a different model. Got it? As like saying in Oracle database, we have a various type of databases. Like I have given you the different car example. Similar like we have a standalone database. That means one instance, one database. That is working fine. If my instance get down, my database got impacted. I can keep all the application data within the one database. That is the one thing. What happened? In this case, every database have their own instance. Within an instance, what we talk, memory structure is there, background process is there. So suppose I have a 10 database, just example. So for each database, we need a memory separate, we need a process, and these all will give the load onto the operating system. Am I correct? To avoid that, from Oracle 12c onwards, Oracle has given you the concept called multi-tenant architecture, where something is shared, but something is personal. Like your instance will be personal. Your undo, your instance is the shared. Your undo is shared, but your data file, your temp file, those are personal. Log file, share. Like it's a share model. Just think about it. Your apartment. I can give you the best example so you can easily understand. You all are staying in the flat in the Mumbai. Am I correct?
Yes,
Now,
sir.
in your society, there is something called clubhouse, or maybe the swimming area, maybe your lift. Those are common. Am I correct? You will also use. Your neighbors will also use. Correct? Now, your flat, will your neighbors will use? No, it's your.
No.
It's your. Got it? But the lift, maybe on the your floor there is a 4 flat. Just example. I don't know how many you have, but suppose just I can assume from the my tower in the Mumbai, we have a 4 floor on each. Sorry, 4 flat in each floor. Now this flat inside, when I will open the my gate, I have a my hall, I have a my dining area or kitchen or bathroom, master bedroom, their bathrooms, bedrooms, balconies, terrace. These all is going to be used. Got it? It means this is my personal. Nobody else, the 3 person who is staying near me on the same floor, they cannot use my thing. But when I will go into a lift or maybe then a staircase, that is common. We all 4 are using. Got it? Similar like it's a multi-storage building. So each floor they are using and they can able to use this and that's where it will use. Got it?
Yes, sir. सर फिर बिफोर
Give
जैसे
me
आपने
give me 1 minute.
बताया
Sorry. Give me 1 minute. Give me 1 minute.
कि
So that is the way we can able to use. Yeah, you were asking some questions. Please let me know. Prakriti,
सर जैसे आपने बताया था कि 12C के बाद मल्टीपल डेटाबेसेस बना सकते हैं मतलब हम और
within a one
10C
instance. Within a one instance, yes.
ओके तब मल्टीपल डेटाबेसेस नहीं बना सकते थे
12C से पहले हर एक database जब आप बनाते हैं अलग अलग, that time you need a instance for each database. If you remember when you have learned Oracle 10G, when you are creating the one database, you were creating the one instance.
yes right I do
Got it?
remember because it was taking memory of 4 GB
Yes. And now
yeah
with the same instance, I can use multiple database. I can show you the demo for that, and then it will be very clear to you. Got it?
yeah sure yes
So as of now, Oracle is giving you the single instance database architecture. What do you mean by the single architect? Similar like a traditional you have used in the Oracle 8, 9, 10, 11, up to 11. Single instance database architecture consists of the one of the database instance and one database. That means it's a one-to-one relationship exists between the database and my instance. Like here in this example, you can see when I am trying to connect from my client application can be anything, be it your SQL developer tool, be it for your PLSQL tool, maybe the OEM, maybe the SQL Star Plus, or maybe your application server, or whichever. Those will be considered as a client. Whenever you are going to connect, you will send the network request, the connect packet to the mediator who is called listener. We will talk it later, what is the listener. But as of now, just you can see listener is located on the database server and they know where I need to transfer the request, from where request is coming. Like just think about it. The first time when you want to come to my home or my office, you need to ask the address to someone. Got it? But next time onwards, you are not going to ask the address because you are already aware. The listener will listen the request first time and allocate the dispatcher for you and the server process. The listener will communicate to the server process and then server process will communicate to your database. So that's the way your connection request will come in the picture. With the arrow, you can easily see. They will communicate, put the data. Of course, we will talk about the background process, who will be responsible for communications internally, who will communicate to data file, who will communicate to log file, who will communicate to control file. That we will talk. But finally, the data came back into the memory, and from there, user will get the request. So that is the main purpose of that. So in Oracle, single instance, that's where we do. Multiple single instance database can be installed on the same server. What is? So suppose I have a high-end server, and top of that I need a 4 database. If you are going single instance, so each database we need a separate instance. That is memory, background process. So in my server, suppose I am running the 4 database, so 4 background process, 4 log writer, 4 DBWR, 4 CKPT, 4 PMON, SMON, similar way, 4 buffer pool, 4 SDA, 4 database dictionary, can say those all will be for each separate one. They are separate database instance for each database, and that configuration is useful to run different version of the Oracle database on same machine. Suppose why people are using? Suppose I have a requirement for Oracle 12 as well as the Oracle 19C or 23C. That case I can able to use it, or maybe you want to the multiple database on the same single home. That can be also possible. That's a normal database. Another, as I told you, we have an Oracle RAC database, which is called Oracle Real Application Cluster. What is the RAC database architecture? How it consists and how we are going to use that. So as if you remember yesterday we talked, the RAC database is used for the multi-tenant, and that's where you can able to get this. So within a RAC database, you have a multiple instance, and those instance will work according to your need. So that is the way it will work. That is the way you can able to use, and that will work. So in simple term, when we are going to do it, we can able to use those service according to my business need. So in the RAC case, I can have multiple database, but I have the only one data. So storage will be the same. So why it is needed? Suppose I have a 10,000 user who is going to connect it to my database. Quite possible on the one server, RAM limit is there, CPU limit is there, and I cannot able to handle my request for 1,000 user or 10,000 user. In this case, I can keep multiple server, and each server we will install the Oracle software with the RAC features, and then these all server will club together internally and behave like a single server. That's why it's called cluster server. Got it? So RAC full form is Real Application Cluster. So that database architecture consists of multiple instances run on a separate server machine, and all are them share the same database. Got it? So the cluster server will be a little bit different than this. and we can able to use it as per the need. So that way the cluster server will work. If I can show you the architecture, you can able to clearly understand how this will work, what are the things we are going to do, and what are the use of this. So that way you can able to understand the concept. So let me go and first let me show you the Oracle complete architecture so you can get a clear idea about it. Of course, I will talk about each of the component later on, but as of now, just I'm showing you the architecture.
Sir, when you say multiple databases, do you mean that in MySQL, if I run a MySQL server in my Windows machine, I can create multiple databases, like one maybe HR database, one maybe books database, something. Are you talking about
Correct,
those
correct,
databases?
correct.
So that is like in Oracle before 12c, one instance will I can be able to create only 1 DB.
Yes, 1 DB.
Okay. Because generally all applications which we have do have multiple databases, right?
No, so the how we were using in Oracle, we were creating the schema. Got it? And within a schema, we were using those different application as a separate.
Okay.
Now, are you able to see the architecture?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So from 12c onward, this is the architecture. Here we are just going to talk about the single instance. We are going to talk the single instance database. And this you can see, this is the multi-tenant architecture. Okay. So I will talk it later, but as of now, just think about this single instance. Okay. So you can see there is some dotted line. Are you able to see? And some is the fixed line, like the PMON is the fix. Okay. This. So there's a different background process are there. Of course, we will talk about these background process, not all, but the major one we will talk during our discussion today. But as of now, just you think SGA we have, which is called System Global Area. And within SGA, we have some small component like share pool we talk about data dictionary cache we have a large pool, we have a Java pool, we have a shared IO pool, stream pool, and then we have a flashback thread. These are the data files we have. We have control file we talk about data and temp file. We have a log files, and these are small which you can see. Those are the background process. So whichever the background process you can see as a fixed line boundary, those can work as a process. The which you can see in the dotted line, it can work as a process or maybe thread. Got it? So that's way you can see, but only one instance we have, and these are all the small components. And that's why I ask for each of my participant, if you want to really know the Oracle in the detail, you have to understand the architecture. And if you know each and every component, of course, if not possible, but at least major component you know, then you know what is the function of flashback log. What will be the impact if this will not work? What is the use of the control? How it will work? What is the impact for there? What is the use of the log files? What is the use of the tracking file? What is the use of the PGA? Got it? So those all plus the background process. What is the use of the database? Particular MMON process or PMON process or S1 process or different. So we will talk about this and then you can get the idea. So here what you got? One instance, one database. Clear? Now this architecture which we discussed, this has the instance is the normal, which is called CDB instance. So instance is the normal, like the one instance, but the background process which we talk here, like this dotted line, those are also one we have here in the multi-tenant architecture. So background process, your SGA, those are single one. Okay. Plus, we have a multiple databases here. You can see like PDB seed, which is the read only. If you work on the SQL server, so there is like a template database. whenever you are giving the command create database and database name, so they will get the reference from this database and it will create a new database. Got it? In SQL Server or maybe in the MySQL or Postgres like that. And like same here, when you create a database, the database will be created from the help of the PDB seed. So this is the read-only database as a template that will be used. And then you can see the PDB1, PDB2, like that. We can create a multiple database. Each database have their own data files with the system, SysOps, nowadays undo, the temp, those earlier the first release, it was not separated. Undo was within the instance level, CDB instance. Temp was your choice. Got it? But now people are using this temp is separate. So log file here the common for all databases, control file common for all databases, background process common for all databases, and that way. But in this case, for each database there will be a separate this background process. So that way it was happening and we can able to use. We'll talk it later, but as of now, just try to understand the concept because we want to go for the each in the details, and then you can get a idea how this will work. What are the things will be there? So in the rack case, you have each server have their own instance, their background process, and they communicate to the common server. So that's where the Oracle rack will work. So each database instance is associated with one database, and if there is a multiple database on the same server, then the server is separated the database instance for each database. And database instance cannot be shared except the Oracle rack. So in Oracle rack case, databases usually has multiple instance on a separate server, but that case also they are sharing the same resources. So it is a shared database. The storage is the common for all the instance. Database is common for all the instance. What you are updating in the one instance, another instance is aware about it. So that belong to the same database associated with each rack instance. And that's where we can able to get mostly the database associated with that instance. And that way it will work, we can able to use. So in simple term, in Oracle rack case, database architecture consists of multiple instances that run on a separate server machine, and all of them share same database. The cluster of the server machine appear as a single server on one end, and user application to the other end. Now maybe you have a question, Rajiv, how it possible? What are the things we are going to do? So in this case, what happened? Like the listener you have, which we call as a scan IP or a scan. So suppose I have a 3 server. So each server have their IP separate. Plus I have a one common IP which will be connected from all 3. So we are not giving the user the machine IP. That is called the scan IP. So we give the scan IP. Now, whenever the user will come, they will get the scan IP. From a scan IP, my data will be located onto the server 1 or server 2 or server 3. So if like I can draw the diagram, you can easily understand. Suppose I have a server 1. Now I have a just example server 2, and then we have a server 3. Each instance have their own IP. Got it? They have their own IP, they have their own IP, they have their own IP. And now one IP which is called the scan IP, that will be common. So I don't share user with this IP. This I am not sharing with the user or this or this. You can share, no problem. But in this case, what happened? The always request will come to this server only. If suppose this server is down, user will not able to access the my storage. Okay. What the benefit of the scan IP we are getting? Like user will connect to here, and my load balancer will transfer the request onto the list load server. So it may be 1, 2, or 3, which server that user don't know. In case of the failure of this server, their data will be moved from here to there. The session will move from the this server to this. So these are interconnected. For that, there is a loss of component, which we will talk in the rack class. So it is not a rack class. There's a separate course for the rack class where we talk about it. But that way the database will work. That's why we are going to use the multiple instance with the single database in the rack case. As I said, the Oracle rack is called cluster. So the multiple these server will behave like a single server for customer. The cluster of server machine appear as a single server on one end and end user application to the other end. So the configuration is designed for high availability, scalability, or high performance. As I said, even if I don't agree with the high availability part, because instance level failure, I was having the 3 server. That's okay. The server 1 got failed. The load will be taken by the second or third server. Instance level, I am okay with that. But these all 3 server is sharing the storage which is common. Just example. These all are getting data file which is common. Just example. Suppose my storage got failed. I have a high availability here instance level, but my storage failed. I can't able to access my thing. What idea? So that's why I don't agree with the high availability part. The high availability part we talked in the data guard course, but in the Oracle it said this is like a solution for the high availability. But I agree it's a high performance, not the high availability. Based on my experience, I can clearly tell to the people. So that way it will work. Now let me talk about the one process which you can see here, which is very important, called listener. What is the use of the listener and why we need it? Just give me 1 minute, guys. Give me 1 minute. I need to pick up the one call. So that's the way you can able to use, the way we can able to do it. In turn, listener is a very important component which is going to be used into the your instance, and that's where you can able to. That is the way you can able to use. We can able to get it, and then you can able to use. So that's where the listener will come into the picture, and you can able to listen the request. Now, the listener is a database server process that receive the client request, and they will establish the connection of your database instance. And after that, it will hand over the client connection to the my server process. Here you can see the diagram. So the listener listen the request from the client, but it client request, once the connection has established database instance, then it will hand over the client connection to the server process. So listener can run locally on the database server or run remotely. That's the way we can able to use.
You mean that after the connection is established, the user and the DB will be directly connected without the listener in the middle? It looks like you're on mute in case if you're talking.
Yeah, sorry, I was on phone.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, you were asking the same question. Please feel free to ask.
Yeah, I was asking that you mentioned that listener will listen to the request. It will connect it with the server, and once
Mhm.
connected, the listener will hand over. Like, what do you mean by handover? Like, will it be like that?
Like we have only one listener. Got it? In a database, we can create multiple listener. That's possible. But suppose I have 100 users. I cannot create 100 listener.
Yeah.
Got it? So what happened? Listener may be busy to listen the request from some other customers. Got it? So listener have the internal process. We will talk it later, which is called dispatcher. Got it? Listener will hand over your request to the dispatcher, and now dispatcher will listen the request to you. Again, dispatcher is also not dedicated for you. Dispatcher can listen the request from multiple customers. But suppose your session has lost, but a transaction has lost. You have exit from SQL or your application. Again, you are connecting. Again, listener will come into the picture. The listener task, once your connection is established, there is their junior, you can say, or like the other process which is called the dispatcher. They will handle your client request and communicate to on behalf of the listener.
So at one time, listener can handle multiple requests, multiple connections can be made, or at one time only one connection.
Yeah, that's a good question. I must say that's a good question. Before Oracle 8i, what was happening? One listener, one database. Got it? So similar like instance concept. Every database have their own listener. But from Oracle 8i onwards, that concept has changed. Now, this one listener can listen to the multiple databases, like my HR database, like my production database, maybe my R&D, maybe my reporting, maybe my account. So one listener can listen to the multiple database, or within a one database, we can create multiple listener like listener 1, listener 2, listener 3, listener 4. That can be possible. So vice versa. That means one listener can listen the request of multiple database, or within a one database, I can create multiple listeners. Now maybe you have a question. Hey Rajiv, what will be the benefit after using the multiple listeners? Suppose I have a two network connection. Got it? One from the Jio, another from the Airtel. Just example. Suppose I have only one listener. What happened? I can use only one internet connection. If this will fail, then the second I will use. I want the multiple listener can listen the request from the client. One for the X network, another for the Y network, TCP, IOB, HTTP. What type of request will come? That will be handled by different listener. It could be possible. In this case, suppose my one listener get down, still user can able to connect via the another listener. But the idea.
Yes, I think it will be more clear as we go ahead. I believe, because not everything
Yeah,
is.
whenever we will create a listener, then it will give you the more and more clarity.
Just one question: is
please.
listener like for example, in the
Listener like
database,
your
whenever
ear.
we do like we connect like using the sysdba SQL plus as sysdba, so does it go via the listener or it's
Yes,
different?
even if any user, not about the sysdba only, even if you are using with the your name user, Prakriti is using in her name, I am using my name, any request in the database will go, the first time it will go via the listener only. Okay. Once
Okay.
connection established, then your application will directly communicate with your server process via the dispatcher. There is no work of the listener until unless this session has not lost. Once
So if
session lost,
you
again for connection purpose listener
Only
will
used
require.
to connect with the database, na?
Yes, yes. The basic use of the listener is to listen your request, and in the further you can see in the our slide, the listener symbol like your ear, which will listen your request, pass to the server process. What is
so
happening? How
if
we
all
are
three of
communicating?
us are if all three of us are connecting to the database, then
Listener will listen all three of the requests,
okay,
and they pass to the server process.
okay,
Now just example. Suppose my request goes first. Listener is very fast, very fast. So at least one listener can able to handle the 1,000+ connections. Got it? So it's like a nanosecond. Got it?
Okay,
So
I got
listener in the database server process will receive your request, it receive your client request, establish the connection of database, and then it will hand over to there. Okay. And that's the interview question, guys. The listener, at least I remember for me, in my initial days, 2-3 company has asked me, that means interviewer has asked, hey, where listener is located, Raji? And with the diagram, most of the people will say listener is running on database server. Am I correct?
database server. Yes.
But it can be run out of the database server as well. Got it? So listener can run locally on the database server or run remotely. But typically, Oracle RAG case, we are using remotely. In the standalone, generally 99.9% people are using onto the database server itself. So you can get the concept wise very clear. Whenever you are learning, you should be focused 100%. So your interview also you are preparing along with that. Now, if people may ask, hey, what is the listener? Where it is located? What is the default port? Got it. So 1521 is the default port for the listener. Can I use the different port? Yes, you can. It's your choice. So these all the things, terms and logic, you can understand and then you can able to use. Now let me move for the next slide. Here, what I was talking about the non-cluster system, like a standalone or the RAG. So you can clearly see in the non-cluster, each database have the separate instance, like instance 1 for database 1, instance 2 for database 2. Got it? But in the RAG, we can have multiple instance like 1, 2, 3 or many, and those all are connecting with the shared storage, as I told you. So that's about the RAG configuration. So clustered and non-clustered, that's the main difference is available. So being a DBA, you can decide what type of the service you want. Of course, you means your business. Here, because yesterday we have discussed where licensing term, if you are going to use the RAG, you need that license as a separate. Even if cloud, if you remember, we talked about extreme performance. That option you have to choose. The database instance contain set of the Oracle database background process, memory structure, main memory structure, and we have a separate structures like the ZA, PGA. ZA means system global area, PGA means program global area, and then their background process. So those all will be there, and that's where it will work. Now let me move further. Here you can see my database instance completely. So the application is going to process. Of course, I have not draw here the listener diagram, but on the last, when I will go, you can able to see the, when we will come into the last part of this, I must be has given the listener, the mediator between the your client and those. So that way we will talk it later, because this entire I am going to talk today. So as of now, like you have seen in the architecture, so these all the components are the small which we are going to discuss. But as of now, just you understood the my instance. So what is the database instance? Consists of set of Oracle database background process, plus they have the memory structure. Got it? The main memory structure, as I told few minutes back, we have SGA, system global area, which is responsible for the entire system related memory and the communication. Then for each users, we have a PGA. Now the PGA can be shared, PGA can be dedicated, because it's called program global area. So in the Oracle database, we have a shared server mode or dedicated. In dedicated case, each user have their own PGA. In shared mode, the PGA is a part within the SGA, like you can see here. So PGA is a part within the my memory area itself. So that we have The Oracle database also create a lots of server process, and that server process will handle the connection to the database on the behalf of your client program. If you remember, we talked, there's a several background process are there which will be used for different purposes. Like here you can see we have a RECO, we have SMON, we have a PMON, we have a MMNL, we have a MMON, we have MN, and so on. So these all we will discuss internally how this can be used into my environment, how we are going to use into this, and that's why we can get a clear idea. So that's why we have not mentioned here. I have just shown you these are the different background processes like you have seen. The background process is responsible for managing your background job. So that way it will work and we can able to use. Got it? So that's way it will work. You can retrieve the result. The server process will also refer, and the program process that can be possible, and we can able to use this. Now let me go inside of this diagram so you can get a clear idea what are the things kept within the SCA and how it works. But before that, how you can connect to the database instance. So as a user, you are going to send your request select list here. Now your user process has started. You got a connection or not, doesn't make any difference. Now user process has started. Now here you can see in the middle, there is your listener which we talk. They listen the request. Now your session has established. They send the data to the server process. And now next time onwards, user will directly communicate with the directly. There is no need of the listener. That means directly user can communicate via the dispatcher to the server process. And that's what it works. So connection means the communication between the user process and the instance. That is called connection. And session means once user has requested, their authentication, authorization has done, and after that they got, that is called session. So since the user has log in to log out, that is called session. So as a user, we can able to get the different sessions. Session is the basically a mediator between your instance. So connections and session are closely related to user process, but they are very different in their way of working, their task which they will be handled. So in short, connection will communicate the pathway between the user process and my Oracle database instance. What do you mean by the communication pathway? The communication pathway will basically establish using the available inter-process communication mechanism. Like suppose on the computer which run the both the user process and Oracle database, or network software when different computer can run as a database application. So that way the communication will happen from the one server to another. That is called communication pathway. Now we said the session. So session represent the state of the current user logging to the database system. Suppose when user start the SQL Plus or maybe the any tool like application server, maybe the Toad, maybe the PLSQL developer, maybe the OEM tool, user is providing the username and password, and then that will be authenticated. So session established with the user after authentication. So session is available till user disconnected from your database. Got it? Now, as a user, how many sessions I can create? So it depends on your profile or what the permission is given. So user can establish the multiple session. Got it? Multiple session can be created or exist concurrently on the single Oracle database using your same username like HR, their password, or Rajiv, their password, or maybe Meudes, their password, maybe Prakriti, their password. So Oracle database instance will use several type of the request, and then you can able to get it, you can able to use it. Any doubt, any questions related to the connection and session, then feel free to ask.
नो सर गॉट इट. लाइक जब तक खुद का जो यूजर क्रिएट और पासवर्ड वैलिडेट नहीं होता तब तक कुछ होगा नहीं, ऐसा ही इसका मतलब है ना?
यूजर प्रोसेस स्टार्ट रहेगा ना?
या बट as you
User
said
will
na
not
ki
able to
user
connect. Yes, user will not
हाँ
communicate to
fetch
database.
हाँ that what I was saying.
बट कनेक्शन हो ना हो यूजर प्रोसेस स्टार्ट हो जाता है, क्योंकि आपने रिक्वेस्ट भेजा
हाँ सर
तो यूजर का काम
या
तो स्टार्ट हो गया. दैट्स व्हाई इट्स कॉल्ड यूजर प्रोसेस स्टार्टेड. ओके, so that's the
yes
way
sir.
it will work. Now, Oracle database memory structure. So let me talk about the memory structure and how this memory structure will work. See, whenever we talk about the memory structure, we have to keep into the couple of things in the mind. The first thing, in the Oracle database will create and use the memory structure for the multiple purpose. Like memory will store the program code which can be run. Memory will share among with the users. There could be a private data area where the connection will use. So within a memory, we have a small various component which is available. Okay. So within the memory, I can use the different programs which is called memory structure. Okay. And based on that memory structure, I can able to use my instance. Okay. So in simple term, like we have the some memory structure which is called SGA, which we talked few minutes back, system global area. We talk about the PGA, so which is called program global area, and so on. And each is defined for their specific purpose. Like SGA, PGA, which you can see, those all are defined from the specific purpose. The program global area, or this is called like SGA, which is called the system global area. These are the different purpose it is given. So basically, SGA is a group of shared memory structure. It's a group of shared memory structure. That means you are the user, I am the users, as well as somebody else is the user. Like here, we all are the users. So that will be the SGA is not separate for each of you. It will be shared for all of us. That's why it's name called shared memory. Got it? Or people are calling shared global area or system global area. It's a based on their behavior, based on their task, people are called shared global area. But actual name is that system global area. So now, what type of contents my SGA will keep? So they will control the information of my Oracle database instance, and SGA shared by all the server and background process. Like suppose you are storing the data block or you are setting the SQL area, those all will be used by the SGA. The another, as I said, the PGA, which is the memory region which contain data and control information for the server or background process. Means PGA is not shared memory, which is created by Oracle database. So suppose as a server is starting the background process, actually they are going to access the PGA exclusive for that server process. Okay. So each server process and background process have their own PGA. So suppose there's a M1 process is running, they have their PGA for their task. There's another user is coming, their process that will have the power. So that's where the PGA will be there. As I said, dedicated and shared mode, PGA is the part within the SGA, but in dedicated, each process have their own PGA. That's the two. So let me go inside in that and we can try to understand within the SGA what are the things. Like here, what are the things? The small component you can see. So that we are going to start. So in the example, you can see on my slide, we have a SGA, the system global area. This is the memory area which contain your data, which control information for single database. And that will be also used for server and background process within the SGA. So whenever you start a database instance from your database server, some of the memory area will be allocated in the SGA. Now, some of the memory area means how much? 10%, 20%, 40%. By default, whenever you install the SQL server, Oracle server on your database server machine, that means on operating system, they will take the 40% of memory. That's the default behavior. But I can increase up to 85%. Now maybe you have a question, hey Rajiv, why 15% you are left? OS also need a memory, network also need a memory. If there is some antivirus software is running, that is also used. So shared pool, the cache various construct that can be shared among the user. Got it? So in short, share pool store your SQL statement which has executed, which has passed. Now there's a new word pass you heard. So there's a two type of pass. One is called short pass, another is called hard pass. Short pass means the query which was executed we can able to use, and that's way it will work. Just give me 1 second. That's the behavior we can able to use share pool, and that's a dedicated way we can able to use my instance. Now the share pool have their own task, and that way we can able to use. So all the SQL statement which is executed, or maybe your PL/SQL code like procedure, function, trigger, those, any system parameter. Got it? We will talk the parameter later, like instance name, like data file location, like control file location, like log file details. So those all, the memory area, those all are the parameters. So we will talk more than, Oracle have the more than 500 plus parameters. Out of that, some more important we will talk. Those parameter details, the data dictionary information. So share pool involve almost every operation which will happen in your database. Got it? So like your SQL statement or Oracle database access share pool, that way it will use. The another is called, we have here, which is called flashback buffer. So what is a flashback buffer and why we need? So flashback buffer is the option component within my SGA. Whenever the flashback database is enabled, by default in Oracle database, flashback is not enabled. So that was introduced in Oracle 10G version onwards. Prakriti, did you aware about the flashback concept?
Yes, sir.
So before Oracle 10G, what was happening? Suppose you have dropped some table, but it automatically, the drop command is a DDL command, auto committed. You cannot able to recover it. Suppose your developer has done the mistake, you can't recover. So flashback database is enabled in the background process, and for that you talk about the one background process. If you have seen in the architecture, which is called RWR, which is called recovery writer process, that will start. So your recovery writer process periodically copy your modified block from the buffer cache to the flashback buffer, and sequentially they will write flashback data from your flashback buffer to the flashback database log. Got it? And that's way it will use. So that is the main concept of the using that one. So flashback buffer, that's why you can see the dotted line means it's optional. But if you want, you can use it. If you don't want, you can't use it. That's your choice. Then you can see we have a database buffer cache. So database buffer cache is the main memory. Got it? Database buffer cache.
Sir, actually, I didn't understand the significance of flashback buffer.
The
But
flashback is
I just
like a your recycle bin in Windows. What happened? When you are deleting, what happened? Your file will be goes in recycle bin. Am I correct? So suppose by mistake you have deleted, you can able to recover from that flashback from recycle bin. Am I correct? As like saying
yes.
earlier, before the Oracle 10G, suppose your developer has done some mistake and they have dropped your table. Now table has dropped. Your project manager came to you and they are asking, hey, my database got corrupted. My database got corrupted. Developer has done some mistake. Can you restore it? You are saying, no, we don't have that feature. Your data has lost, which was very important. So point in time recovery you were doing, okay, before they were saying at 11, they have dropped. So you are putting at 1059 or 1058, and that's what was used. But now from Oracle 10G, they have given you the concept. You can rewind the database, the drop table, flashback has a multiple concept like flashback database, flashback transactional, flashback query, the recycle bin. Those all we will talk in later. As of now, just because we are talking about SDA, so flashback buffer is the another option area which you can enable. And that case, there is a background process called RBWR, which will come and that will use to maintain the my log, what has happened, what has deleted, what has changed from the period after time. So they will copy the your modified block from buffer cache and click into the flashback buffer. Got idea?
Okay. So it will just not have the logs, it will also have the deleted data, so we can
Yes,
restore.
yes.
Okay.
Yes. So basically log is there. Based on the log, the syntax they will create again. Yes,
Okay.
table drop. They are just renaming the table with 27 character different. These all we will see practically and then we can get idea.
Okay.
There's a
got it.
separate chapter we are going to learn for the flashback, how to enable, how to use it. We will show you the demo, how to drop the table, how to do the transaction, how to flashback the database. Those all we are going to do.
In one of the customers recently, the DBA had come and he told that we have to disable the flashback buffer because the
Because
space, it
unnecessary
also
log,
consumes
yes, unnecessary
space.
log
Yeah.
is creating. Unnecessary log is creating. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah.
So that is the unnecessary log is creating and user can do.
Got it. Thank you.
Welcome.
Sir, if you're talking, you're on mute.
No, I was not talking. I was
okay.
having there some water.
No
Okay,
problem.
so that is the database buffer cache. Now, database buffer cache, what I told you. So it's a memory area which will store copy of your data block, read from the data file, and buffer database buffer cache is the main memory address. Why? Because the buffer manager temporarily cache the currently or recently used your data block. So all user concurrently connected to the database instance, shared access to the buffer cache, that way it will use. The another one is called database smart flash cache. This is again the optional. Got it. So what is the use of database smart flash cache? This is the optional memory. So it is just an extension of your my buffer cache. Why? Because suppose my database running onto the Solaris or maybe in Oracle Linux, they have the second level of the cache. So in the Oracle Solaris or Oracle Linux will provide you the level 2 cache for database block. And that's where we can improve the response time of the my input and output. So read intensive query, online transaction processing, workload, or any ad hoc request, or if you are doing the bulk data modification in your data warehouse, those cases the smart flash cache will come into the picture. So in short, database smart flash cache reside within your flash disk service. That is the solid state storage device. Got it. So SSD drive we are using for the flash memory. And my database smart flash is typically very economical, or you can say in other word, it's a we are going to reduce the load onto the my buffer cache. We can use a separate additional main memory area under the my management magnitude faster and disk drive. We can able to use the database smart flash cache. But as I said, it's optional. It's your choice. do you want to use or not. This is again the main component. This is not optional. It's a mandatory, which is called a redo log buffer. So what is the use of redo log buffer and why we need? See, whenever we are working with a database, we do the changes. Got it? So any change which is made into the my SGA, so my data circulation will happen within the SGA, which hold information about change, which is made in database. So those changes in information will be stored into redo entry, and redo entry contain the information of necessary data which can reconstruct my changes. Got it? So within a database, it will be made, and that will be used for DML, which is called data manipulation language, and DDL is called data definition language. So that is the internal option. Redo entries are used in database recovery if it is really required, and that's where a redo log buffer can be used. The another area which is called large pool. Again, this is the optional. What is the use for that? To reduce the load of the share pool, we have a large pool. Any bulk operation we are doing, that can be happen into large pool. So large pool is the optional memory area which is introduced in the memory allocated to the larger than the your appropriate share pool. The large pool can be provided large memory allocation for the UGA or to the share server, and that way it will work. Got it? So that way it will done. So that's way we can use. It's optional. If you want to create, you can do it. Otherwise, don't create. Similar way, these all which you can see in memory area, that is also an optional area. As a DBA, if you want, you can use in memory area. So that was started from Oracle 12c onwards. It's an optional component which will enable database object like the table or maybe any partitioning you are doing that can store the memory for the new format as a column format. If you remember yesterday we talked, that can be possible. And that is very useful for the analytics, for the application operate, those cases we can use. So that way we can use in memory area. The another area which is called MEM optimized pool. So what is the use of the MEM optimized pool and why we need it? This is again an optional component which will provide the higher performance and scalability. Got it? So MEM optimized pool contain the two parts, that is called MEM optimized buffer area and hash index. Got it? So based on that we can able to use. Hash index is created when the MEM optimized row store is configured, and that will maintain automatically by Oracle database. The another thing you can see here, which is again optional, the dotted line all are optional, shared IO pool. So what is the use of the shared IO pool? This is the area is used for when the large input output operation will happen into the my database, or you can say it is a secure large object. So anything, if you are working with the LOB part, large object set, the data type, that case that need a large amount of data, that case the shared IO pool is the secure file that will be used. So secure file in the large object, the storage parameter allow deduplication, encryption, compression, those all the features can be established with the your shared IO pool. So it's a secure file system we have. The another one which we have a stream pool. So why we need a stream pool and what the benefit we will get from a stream pool? Generally, I have a two server, just example, or maybe the two location we are keeping my data from one server to another. So that case, this stream pool will come into the picture. It is used for streaming purpose. That means when you are moving the data from one server to another using the data pump or maybe the Golden Gate. Golden Gate is another very popular tool from Oracle, which is used for migration or replication purpose. So it is basically in the stream pool, they capture and apply your process. The stream pool will store your buffer queue message, and then it will provide a memory for Oracle streaming, which will capture the process and apply the process. Okay, so that way it will use and we can able to do it. Next one is called the Java pool. What is the use of Java pool and why we need it? The Java pool is used for all session specific Java code into your Java virtual machine. Okay, you all know the Oracle is made with the Java language, so that way it will create the Java pool memory into the different way. So depend on to your database. If you want to use, you can able to use the Java pool. If you want to ignore, you can. So that is the Java pool. The another is called fixed XGA. So fixed XGA means like something I want to where the memory should be fixed. So it's a for housekeeping area where we can keep the information about the all the database related status, their communication for the process. So those all information we can keep into the Java pool, and that way it will work. Hope you understood this. What is the SGA and how database instance will work? Did you got the idea? Guys, did you understood the concept?
Yes, sir. Not everything, but some part is.
Have you gone with the video recording which I have shared yesterday?
No, not completely.
Prakriti, what about you?
Yes, sir.
So please go through that. Here
Yes.
I have described these all the things. You can play for multiple time and then you can use. So
सर
I
वो
can stop.
आपका ऑलरेडी वीडियो डाला हुआ है ना उधर
Yes, 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 yes,
YouTube
yes,
पहले
yes, yes.
कल शेयर किया था देखा
yes,
मैंने वो।
yes, yes, yes. So at least you can go for that, and then you have some questions. So I'm stopping here. I'm not going further because I will talk it later in the share pool how it will work. So within a share pool, like the small area that we are going to talk, how the shared SQL will work, what the data dictionary. So that we will talk in the next lecture. I'm not going further because I don't want to give you the overload into that. Just understand the concept, and I request you go through the video. Let me know once you are aware about it, so then I can schedule the another session for you, and we can able to get the clear picture into that. Because I am going to talk now the internal part. This is SGA part, the main area we talk, the flash log we talk about the your share pool, what are the things. But now we are going to talk about each and every internal part, and that will be possible once you have a clear idea into that. Got it? Until unless you will not have a clear idea, that is not making sense for me to give the idea. So go ahead, read this, and let me know. At least you can watch
सर ये
that video.
COB का फुल फॉर्म
Which one?
CDB
Container database.
container database. It's
Ah.
like the whole system where it is saved, na? That is the container,
Yes,
na?
yes. And then we have a PDB, which is called pluggable database.
Pluggable
will
I
talk-
know, sir.
Yes, yes. So with this concept, we will talk it later. But first, we will talk about architecture because architecture is common for both case in CDB as well as in the PDB. Okay.
Only today we only covered as an SGA part instances and the working of the QA, how it is being
Process.
communication is going on between
Yes,
them.
correct.
Right.
So as of now, just we talked about the objective. We talked about the Oracle Database Server architecture. Here in the architecture, we will talk about the different process. Then how the non-cluster system will work, how the rack will work, how the data guard will work. Those all we discuss. Then we talk about each and every background process. Then we will talk about the how the communication will happen to database, so connections. Then we talk about the memory structure, and then we talk about the SGA part, and I stop here. Got it?
Okay, sir. Got it, sir.
So Mayuresh, did you got the idea?
Yes, yes, got it.
Any doubt, any questions?
No. Uh, if any questions, I will ask you in the next lecture.
Are you getting the point what I am trying to deliver?
Yeah.
What
Yes,
about you,
sir.
Prakriti?
Yes, sir.
So generally architecture, Oracle is saying the 40 minutes we have to finish. And my lecture, if you have seen on the even the YouTube also, minimum 2.5 hours, 3 hours we take onto architecture part because I invest much of the time here. And then when we talk with the party people, they understand, okay, what is the flash? They know. What is the log? What is the use of this database dictionary? कैसे what is the use of share pool, what is the use of the key pool, what is the use of result pool, what is the use of dictionary cache. So they are already aware about it. So things will be very easy for them to understand when we go for the inside the database. Okay.
Got it. Got it. Sir, when will be our next lecture?
You tell me, do you time Saturday and my days both?